Money isn't the most important thing for the best outcome. Now, I know what you guys are thinking. I'm crazy. But the reality is, as Dan Pink once said, people work for money, but go the extra mile for recognition, growth, and purpose. So, with that example, someone may very well choose to be Employee of the Month rather than take a slight bonus. So, with this, I want to talk about how we can promote employees to have a better job attitude and have a more positive outlook and not just focus on the monetary compensation they will receive. So, we'll talk about the management insights and management concepts that can be accurately measured with validated measures. We can start off with talking about motivation, including the goal setting theory, moving forward to job attitudes and how effective organizational commitment is incorporated, and finally finish off with performance as well as the citizenship behaviors that fall into performance. Starting off with motivation. I wanted to talk about the goal setting theory, but I do believe it's important for us to define motivation first. Motivation is the psychological drive that energizes, directs, and sustains behaviors at work. Goal setting theory is one way to explain how motivation actually works in practice. So, SMART goals, which fall into goal setting theory, are specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound goals. They motivate people more than money, and because they provide direction, challenge, and purpose. Hence why employees that move towards meaningful goals stay engaged and push harder. In this example, we can see that someone is spending countless hours working on achieving those SMART goals. It already is dark outside, so we can assume the workday is over. He looks like he's at home, and he's still putting in his time and effort to achieve the goals that he sets for his company. Moving on to job attitude, specifically effective organizational commitment. So let's define job attitudes, and that can be defined as evaluations that the employees hold about their job, employer, or work environment. So effective commitment is when employees stay because they want to, not because they have to. This is when someone will put in the extra step and spend more time on a project rather than just working between the hours of 9 to 5 to receive their paycheck. And so when employees feel emotionally connected to the company, they truly give their best work, not because of the money, but because they believe in the mission. So, for example, here we have a volunteer, and as we all know, for the most part, volunteers don't get paid. But even though she is not getting paid, she believes in the mission of the company. She's helping out and she's helping feed whoever they're feeding. And so, even though she's not receiving a paycheck for this work, she's still putting it because she sees the mission that the company is trying to achieve. She supports it, she believes it, and she wants to participate. Moving on to performance, specifically organizational citizenship behaviors, also known as OCBs. And this is performance is all the behaviors at work that help achieve organizational goals. Citizenship behaviors are extra roles that aren't part of the job description, but they can still help the organization thrive. And this can include people who are loyal, helpful, team-oriented, usually do so from an internal motivation, not because of just a paycheck. Money can't buy their willingness to help and to care. So in this example, Tim over here decided to clock out of work, but then he noticed that Perry spilled something. And so he decides to help her clean up, even though he's not being paid for the time that he's giving to help her out. This can be seen as a positive thing, and it is categorized as organizational citizenship behavior. So at the end of the day, money is not necessarily the only thing that drives success in the workplace environment. We need to redesign the workplace environment. We need to redesign the workplace culture to emphasize purpose, recognition, and as well as building relationships. The money, it'll come second. When employees feel seen, supported, and connected to the mission, money automatically becomes secondary. They need to contribute to the company because they want to, not because they're going to be paying their bills. They need to come to the workplace environment feeling happy. And with that being said, feel free to reach out with any more questions. Thank you guys all for joining in.